According to Mike Coppinger, Vasily Lomachenko is trying to strike a deal where he can leave the Ukraine to come back to the States to fight George Kambosos. Now, to me, that doesn't make any sense. If this fight was that important to you, you never should have left. I don't see the point of going to Ukraine and then leaving during the state that Ukraine is in just to come back to fight. If that was the case, then you never should have left in the first place. If all you were going to do was go to the country, take some pictures, then try to get on the flight back. Now, I'm not saying it's his prerogative whether he wants to go or whether he wants to stay. But the thing is, if you always knew you wanted to fight George Kambosos, you didn't have to fool yourself by flying back to the Ukraine. You just could have stayed here and got the fight on. But it shows that the fight is still important to you. I thought that he would leave here to go to the Ukraine because what's going on in the Ukraine takes precedence over his fight with George Kambosos. So now for him to be trying to strike a deal to be able to leave, to go back to be able to fight George Kambosos makes absolutely no sense. He just did a 360. And like I said, it's his prerogative, whatever he wants to do. But nonetheless, if that fight was important to you, then why did you even go? You know, so evidently you chose Ukraine over the boxing match. And that's how most people looked at it. Now, you're ready to leave Ukraine in the current situation that it's in just to come back and fight. That absolutely made no sense. It was a complete 360. You just should have stayed where you were. Now, being that that is the case, you basically walked out on the fight for your country. You know, more props to you, or however anybody wants to look at it. But now it gives an opportunity for somebody to fight for those belts who rightfully should have fought for them in the first place, in which Vasily Lomachenko opted out of fighting. So to get a request to come back here and have George Kambosos sitting around like he wants to wait for Vasily Lomachenko, once again, that does nothing but play Devin Haney. Okay? Since Devin Haney was the guy that Vasily Lomachenko avoided, was also the guy that Teofimo Lopez wants no parts of, then it's only right that he gets his shot that he was supposed to have initially in the first place. Now, that's just being fair. Okay, now when it comes to George Kambosos has talked a lot of stuff as if he wanted to clear up this whole undisputed dilemma, you know. And for those that doubt that he had plans on doing that, let me play you this.
Devin Haney has a WBC belt as well, world champion. Give him his respect. Once I beat Lopez, I want to end this undisputed stuff because I want to go fight Devin Haney straight away. That's who I'm most likely going to be targeting because everyone says they're scared of him. I'm not scared of anybody. So, you know, I want to close that straight away and say, look, this is the undisputed champion, Kambosos.
Okay, now nobody forced him to say that. That comes out the horse's mouth. Okay, he said he's going to clear it up, and that's what people are holding him to. So why is he sitting on the sidelines waiting for Vasily Lomachenko? Just goes to show that these people want no part of Devin Haney. Once again, let me reiterate, I am not the Devin Haney fan. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the guy who loves everything that Devin Haney does. I'm not a particular fan of Devin Haney. I really don't favor him that much, you know? So when it comes from somebody like me who's saying this, I know it's straight down the middle in my thinking. And everybody can see that this kid deserves a shot and everybody is avoiding him. And just the fact that he's avoided alone makes me want to see him fight these guys even more. So it does nothing but pour gasoline on the fire. Now let's go ahead and talk about this franchise champion. Okay, Vasily Lomachenko was never going to be undisputed due to ducking Devin Haney. And even though that George Kambosos beat Teofimo Lopez wasn't undisputed. There was a time I lobbied for Teofimo Lopez to be undisputed because I viewed that Lomachenko ducking Devin Haney was not his fault. However, once he had the opportunity to fight Devin Haney and he started maneuvering just like Vasily Lomachenko, I had to let up off that. And the truth of the matter is that Devin Haney holds the WBC belt. You know, regardless if we feel he's email champion, or if he's this or if he's that. This is one thing I got to say about Devin Haney's belt that nobody says. Everybody talks about how Devin Haney is an email champion, how he got his belt without fighting a champion. This is the thing. There's no way that Devin Haney could have got his hands on that belt if a champion did not decide to give it up. So how can you clown somebody for so-called receiving an email belt when it's a belt that he would not be even able to receive if a champion did not give up his belt? What does it say when you get challenged? I'll put it like this. If that was the case and the belt was like wasn't important, then I would expect for you to drop that belt or give that belt up before a Devin Haney requests a fight with Vasily Lomachenko while also being his mandatory. Now, if you gave up the belt just off GP, then, you know, maybe you would have a leg to stand on. But the fact that you didn't think about giving up that belt until Devin Haney stepped to you for a fight, it says everything. So to make a long story short, you can't give away a belt. I'll put it like this. He couldn't receive the belt unless the champion gave up a belt. Now you tell me which one is worse. Receiving a belt off a technicality that the person that you challenged didn't want to fight you, or giving up a belt because you were challenged and you don't want to rise to that occasion. Now you tell me which one is actually worse and which one actually deserves being clowned. Of course, it's the champion who gave up the belt. That's common sense. Now let's go ahead and prove that neither Vasily Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, or George Kambosos was ever undisputed. Okay. This is what they say about undisputed. Okay. These are the rules. It is not a designation. It is not a belt. It is a designation, and the title can't be transferred. Okay. Now we done seen that title transfer to Vasily Lomachenko, to Teofimo Lopez, to George Kambosos. But in the rules stating right here by the WBC and the president, it's not a belt. Let's establish that, number one. So there is no franchise belt. So you're still missing a belt. Period. You're still missing a belt. Okay, so it's not a belt. It's a designation. Then on top of that, the title can't be transferred. But we done seen it transferred several times. So by the WBC's own definition and rules, there's no way that none of these guys ever would have been undisputed. There it is right there on the screen. Okay, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper. Now we're going to look at the WBC website. And let's see who they say the lightweight champion is. It's Devin Haney. Keep in mind, this is on their website. Okay. And they say the WBC lightweight champion is Devin Haney on their website. Now, let me show you what undisputed is supposed to look like. Okay. This is Josh Taylor. We all know Josh Taylor is undisputed. Okay. This is on Boxing Rec. When you truly are undisputed, okay, it's going to look like this. Okay. Now let's pull up Canelo's super middleweight. Okay. When you're really undisputed, it's going to look like this. Okay. You see those faces in every single category when it comes to the sanctioning belts. Okay. And keep in mind, this ain't outdated. This is updated. Okay. Now let's look at George Kambosos. What do you notice? Whose face is in the WBC slot? Devin Haney. Okay. If he really was undisputed, guess whose face would be right there? And if they really did share a belt, his face would be up under Kambosos, just like Dylan White is right up under Tyson Fury. I know you guys can see that. That's what undisputed look like. So not only by their rules is George Kambosos not undisputed, not only by their website do they say that George Kambosos is not undisputed because they got Devin Haney. When you go on Boxing Rec, okay, it also recognized that Devin is the WBC undisputed champion. And let me end it with this. Okay. The whole fact that it can be disputed automatically eliminates you from being undisputed, because it defeats the purpose of undisputed. If it can be disputed, then how could you ever be undisputed? The purpose of that title, meaning nobody can argue with you. It is without debate. It's undisputed. It can't be disputed. But the fact that somebody can make a claim that Kambosos is not undisputed, Lomachenko is not undisputed, and Teofimo Lopez is not undisputed, automatically makes it a fact that these guys were never undisputed, because it can be disputed. Now that should be simple enough to understand. The fact that we're arguing whether they're undisputed or not cancels out the entire purpose of having a undisputed title. Now that's as simple can get. But we all know people don't want to fight this guy. I just think it's hilarious watching everybody duck and dodge him. If you ask me, Devin Haney needs to be a little bit more aggressive on the way he talked to these guys. Because at this point, boxing shows no respect for nobody. Not the boxer, not the boxing fans. So I don't understand all this gotta keep the sport gentlemanlike and show good sportsmanship. Boxing don't show good sportsmanship. So why would they ask fighters to conduct themselves a certain way, or don't talk like this or don't talk like that, because that's unsportsmanlike? But cheating guys like Jack Catterall is not unsportsmanlike. There's nothing to respect about the sport. So therefore, I think people like Devin Haney should run his mouth however he sees fit. Because at the end of the day, that's probably one of the only things that he got working for on his side. It hurts him that he's so meek about the way he's being treated. You know, it's one thing for us to say it, but him saying it plus us saying it gets us a lot further in him getting what he wants, versus always trying to be cordial and cool with these guys. No, call these guys out. You got to take it old school. You better Mr. T some of these motherfuckers out here. You know, that's exactly how the shit got to get done. You know, hell, Jack Johnson went from country to country chasing a champion down because he couldn't get a fight. He was following him on the train. Wherever country he went, that's where Jack Johnson went. And he let it know that the guy was ducking him. Well, believe it or not, some of that shit may still have to take place today, because boxing ain't too much changed since the time of Jack Johnson. And right now, you still got to lobby and go get these fights. And there's no reason to talking all sweet when you're not getting respected on a professional level or any kind of level. But then again, that's my thoughts about it. Bruce Wayne, I'm out.